Good evening and welcome to our City of Keystone Heights monthly council meeting. It is June 9th and I really appreciate you all being here tonight. We would like to have an invocation by Ms. Kelly Curry. Please stand.
Let us pray. Lord, we ask for your presence to fill this room. And as we are each touched by your presence, please receive this Keystone Heights prayer of gratitude. First, we thank you for the beauty of the nature that you have bestowed upon Keystone Heights, with our lakes, ancient oak trees, tall pines, and yes, even our dusty roads. We thank these city leaders, and we ask you to give them wisdom and guidance to always be faithful stewards for this most precious gift. We thank you for our business leaders and commercial owners, some who have been in Keystone for years, and those who have just opened recently. Give them success so they may continue to serve our citizens well. We thank you for our many churches and community leaders. We pray that you give them wisdom and courage so they may spread your word and grace to all in Keystone. Finally, Lord, we thank you for the people of Keystone. Please give us all the spirit of unity so we may help and support each of our neighbors, remembering to follow one of your most important commandments: love one another. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Castle, a pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Van Zandt, can you give us roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor Cussler.
Here.
Councilman Welch.
Here.
Mayor Rodenroth.
Here.
Councilman Lewandowski.
Here.
Councilman Knight.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
We have one from Miss Vivian Katz James.
Miss Vivian? Welcome. Good to see you.
Vivian Katz James, President, Save Our Lakes Organization. I'll make it quick. I see on your consent agenda the interlocal agreement. I will say that the county has approved that unanimously, and I'm hoping and praying that you guys will do the same thing. We are really working, we're focused. The city, the county, the district, and Solo are absolutely working together. We are ready to roll, and we're staying focused. We don't want to get off track, and we're ready to go. Get it done, and we'll be working, I think, probably very soon.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the consent agenda. We're going to have to pass on that.
Oh,
The clock didn't come in. Okay. Sorry. So consent agenda, we have several items on there. Have you all been able to review?
I just have one question about the financials. We had talked about amending the current year budget, and we did that last meeting, I think.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
reflected in these financials or not?
These financials are basically a direct report out of QuickBooks of income and expenditures. So your budget amendment really didn't affect the way the financials are going to look for this month.
No, but the budget is in the report. So it should be reflected. But this budget is from April, and we approved the change in May. So my expectation would be it's not reflected, but that's what I want to clarify.
I will have to get with our fiscal clerk tomorrow and give you that clarification.
Okay.
I'm not able to do that at the moment.
Okay. Just trying to keep on track of what's going on. and-
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the consent agenda? Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Let's see. Next, we have the committee reports.
No, ma'am. Remember, we were not gonna have them go unless they had something specific.
Right, but the listed is the food truck ordinance under that.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
that's,
Yeah, we didn't change the template, just to be clear, but we didn't list out anybody. But if they have things that are here, they can do what, Miss Vivian did and submit a card. So the food truck ordinance.
So, Ms. Bellman, we're working on that and spent a good amount of time going through Green Coast ordinances and then incorporating in the comments that council had. I have a very close to final draft, I just need to update a few more things and then we'll have it back for your review.
okay. Next, is furniture considerations for the city hall. And what I would like to do is, to ask you all to consider allowing me to work with staff to look at options for this room only, with the goal of, we're working on the audiovisual stuff, also the physical things, the dais, seating, the area in the back, and these desk areas here. My goal is to get something that's definitely more professional looking, that also fits our needs, that can also be portable or changed around, done differently, to do it on a very inexpensive budget, not quite what we looked at a few months ago. And I do believe that I can do this quite well for a reasonable amount of money and still pull off what we're trying to accomplish. My goal would be to have this to share with you all in August, and the ideas, and hopefully there's just some things we don't have to go out for bid. They would not be that expensive, is what I'm trying to say. You all have any questions about that?
It sounds like, just to be clear, you're talking about kind of an interior design change along with
Facelift, I'll call it a facelift for better use.
Understand.
We already repainted the room,
Understand.
which has been a huge improvement. We've already found some chairs that are gonna be a huge improvement and a really good price. And so, the rest is basically the rest of the artwork. It's already gonna be artwork that we have, just framed to fill in some of the spaces, make it a little more warmer, but all of the local history artwork, I think, that we could add in certain places. And the bigger thing too is the acoustics of this room, the video and the audio. We want to make sure our folks who are looking from afar, right now the camera is on top of our heads, and I really feel like it needs to be on our faces. And the microphones, if we're not like right on this microphone, it gets lost in the video tapings. And it's really important, I think, that you're able to see and hear all of that regardless of whether you're here or whether you're watching a video from afar. So, but I will come to you all within August, a complete layout of exactly what I'm talking about and the cost. And like I said, I think it's gonna be some things that will fall under Mr. Benzet's allowed dollars.
Madam Mayor, I think that's great. And I'm gonna mention two things, and I think we're on the same boat here. I don't think this is anything that you haven't already thought. And the first is keep the cost down.
Yes.
$300 to $500 a chair is not gonna float. We're just, I'm not gonna support that.
Yeah.
But I think you feel the same way.
Yeah, I do.
And then the second thing is, when we hold workshops, I really like putting some folding tables in the middle and everybody sitting around there, and they all have an equal say. Any citizen who shows up, it's a workshop.
Right.
And so if whatever electronics and cameras and speakers we have, we can also support that activity, not just these kinds of meetings, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. Those are all the things I have in mind as well.
I thought so. Okay.
Okay.
Mayor, I see your words, I know you did a good job.
So I guess I have to get a motion for them to
You just need consensus to work with the city
consensus,
manager.
everybody's on board?
You're good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Not done yet?
Okay, pickleball court and basketball court, Mr. Wright.
Yeah, he needs to speak to you for a second.
Good evening, council. So, for the pickleball and basketball courts, I had sent out an RFP, request for proposal, 2 weeks ago, and had it advertised in the papers, just looking to try to get some additional, companies in here to try to, because I've gotten one quote as we've gotten, several months ago. That's court surfaces. Actually, they did the pickleball courts on the park on 100. They redid all those. That's the only quote that we had gotten thus far. So I sent out an RFP, advertised it. I got one additional quote, but it was about 3 times the price of what I've already gotten. So it'll be under the $20,000 threshold. So essentially, I'm going to table this until I can get 3 applicable quotes to bring to you to say, okay, here's like for like. So as of right now, I've got, and they only sent one for the basketball court. They didn't send one for the pickleball court. So it went from $30,000 to about $10,000 or $11,000. So big range in there. So I'm just trying to do my due diligence. I know it's taken a little bit longer than what we wanted, but I'm just trying to find the best fit for the city of Keystone.
Okay.
For our city attorney, we followed the rules. We got 2 bids. We can go forward, can we?
So the way your procurement policy is because it asks for 3 bids, you just have to have a motion to waive the rules so that you can proceed with just 2 bids.
I'll make a motion to waive the rules.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect, okay. I'll call them tomorrow morning.
Fix that for you.
You just made my life a lot easier. I appreciate it. So, okay, very good.
What about the tennis court?
So the tennis courts I'll have finished up. I've got to send to the engineer. I don't know how to build a tennis court, especially from top down. So I just need somebody to look over it for me too. And I've got one of our engineers that's going to look over it for me once I finish the RFP to say, okay, this looks good. This doesn't, maybe let's fix this. Like I said, I don't know how to build a tennis court, but I'm relying on it. They've done several of them in larger cities across the state of Florida. So I'm going to rely on them. So hopefully by next week I'll have that RFP out on the street and I'll send it out for you. Now that one will be a much larger proposal. We got one, the company that gave us a quote on it a month or 2 ago was around 160, 170, somewhere in there, and that was just for the tennis courts. No lighting, no fencing, no nothing else. It was just to tear down the tennis courts, bring it back up to where it should be. Matter of fact, they resurfaced it several years ago, and I think they told us several years ago that it needed to be rebuilt. So I'll have that out next week.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to make sure we do it right this time.
That's right. If we do it right the first time, we don't have to worry
Well,
about it again.
I think it could bring, events here.
Absolutely.
Well, that-
Years around, tournaments and stuff.
The way those courts are used every day,
They're-
probably
yeah.
somebody can run that.
Right, it's used all the time.
We need to get it done for them.
And you may even get the high school. I mean, high school tennis courts are not in great shape either. They've got some work to do as well. So I don't know, maybe we'll bring some folks up here for that. So but we'll get that out as well. So
Thank you.
any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we have our CCUA Executive Director, Mr. Jeremy Johnston, regarding septic to sewer. Nice to meet you, sir.
Well, good to meet you. Good evening, and thank you for having me. On behalf of our Board of Supervisors and the entire CCUA team, it's a real pleasure to be here and talk with you all. As indicated, my name is Jeremy Johnston. I serve as the Executive Director, and I've done so for the last 5 years. And with me, I brought our Senior Service Availability Engineer, Mr. Daryl Damero. He will keep me between the guardrails as we go forward. So next slide, if we could jump quickly into some introduction. CCUA has been in existence, last October was for 30 years. We became a special district on October 1, 1994. So last year was our 30-year anniversary. Currently, we serve a little over 50,000 accounts in the area, translating that into 2.72, 2.76, depending on your source, That's roughly 130,000 people that we serve through those 56,000 customer accounts. If you look at our long-term forecasts, then this is lined up with Bieber and through the University of Florida. We expect to double in size over the next 20 years, and this has been consistent. We're standing by that long-term forecast. We do see next year being a little bit softer in the pace of new homes, just tied to the building permits, etc. But we think when the First Coast Expressway opens up, then the pace will begin to accelerate.
Do you have a slide about your capacity coming up?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay.
Yep. Those that have worked with me know that you plan your work, you plan. I am a numbers-driven guy, and so we've completed an integrated water resource plan for our system. We've completed a larger strategic plan. We also completed a rate study, and we have some additional elements of the rate study that are going to be conducted next fiscal year. If you read our mission and vision statements, we are absolutely committed to ensuring safe and reliable drinking water for our customers and do it sustainably in perpetuity for the years ahead. Next slide. You can't do anything unless you have a capable workforce, and this is why I always put this in, because a lot of communities focus solely on the capital side, build infrastructure, build capacity, but all of that is meaningless unless you have the workforce to sustain the operation and maintenance of those facilities. A handful of years ago, we went through a transition where we had quite a few retirements, given competition in the workplace. We also had some fairly high turnover amongst our staff. So we formalized a training and development program. So we bring in high school seniors, we bring in 5 per year, and we train them in the field of what it requires to be a mechanic or a licensed operator, etc. And then once we've been successful in employing all of these interns for a number of years now, and once they are full-time employees, they get into our training and development program, and we help them obtain the technical training, the state licenses that are required, and we also provide additional training to help prepare them for promotions. And so this has been very, very successful with regard to development of staff and creating backlog of people that want to come work for us. And I'll point out, Keystone Heights has been a beneficiary of that, because one of the high school interns came from the high school here and is now a IT technician on staff. So that's been very successful. Next slide. All right, I'm going to get into the money because the money is always important. We're going to talk a little bit about this. So this on the left-hand side of the screen there is our current capacity fees. So the capacity fees are to recover the cost of the plant capacity per equivalent residential connection, which is essentially a household. There's some technical parameters around that, but that's essentially a household. So CCUA builds the plant capacity, and then we are reimbursed for building that plant capacity through the capacity fees. So the graph on the right there that's colored, we compare our operating costs or our base and flow charges against other utilities. Those base and flow charges are specific to the operating costs that it takes to run and deliver services to our customers. And one of the things that's important here, under our enabling legislation, CCUA was originally 3 separate utilities that were created into one special district. We have uniform rate fees and charges across our entire service area. So it doesn't matter if you are a resident up near Orange Park or in Lake Asbury or in Keystone, all of our costs are equated across the entire service area for equal, consistent rates, fees, and charges. Next slide. Getting into Keystone Heights. Next slide. All right. So this is kind of a zoomed in aerial trying to show our different water and sewer services. So the water services are in blue. The sewer, you can see the kind of the green arrows. We have a little over 1,900 customers in the Keystone Heights area. 1,700 of which, when you look on the water side, are interior to the city, and we have 210 commercial accounts. And so when you look at water service, we have all 1,700 on the water service. We only have 10 residential customers on the sewer service. And on the sewer account, we have 210 commercial accounts. All of them are on the water service, and 113 of those commercial accounts are connected to us. And I will say that the sewer system was installed mid-2000s, 2005, something like that. That was through a joint effort with the Water Management District to fund that sewer infrastructure that was aimed for the commercial businesses in the heart of the city.
And the city also took out some bonds to help pay for that, which we just paid off about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that.
All right, I was not aware of that. I'm aware of the grant, but I'm not aware of any bonds.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next slide. All right, getting into the treatment capacity here for Keystone Heights, and this really, the water system is bigger than just the city limits. There's some smaller systems within the city limits, but really Keystone Heights is served in large part by the Postmaster's water treatment plant that is to the southeast. There is a 16-inch water main that runs about 3 miles plus or minus along the rails to trails that actually provides the predominant amount of service there. And there's a reason for that, is because the older wells and treatment systems were upper aquifer, and the Postmaster system has a series of lower aquifer wells. And so that was done to help protect the lakes. So we did do a study with regard to how to make the system in Keystone Heights more efficient, and we are looking at how to increase capacity and capabilities with the Club Estates water treatment plant, then Postmasters, and then we could decommission some of those smaller existing facilities in the future. So our current capacity is about 4 million gallons a day. Our average daily flows are a little under 500,000 gallons a day. And you may go like, wow, what a disparity. Why 500,000 average day flow, and then why 4 million gallons a day peak, you know? And that is because fire flows and stuff. If you get fire system demands and stuff, those flows are going to be much higher, and so you need to be able to deliver for those fire flows. So that's the reason for those.
Does this slide show all of your water treatment plants, 6 of them?
In the Keystone Heights area, that is correct.
Do you have many more other places?
Well, in our fleet as a whole, we have 22 water treatment plants across the entire service area.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next slide. So our wastewater treatment facility, it's over on the west side of town, just south of State Road 100. That current capacity is 74,000 gallons per day. We have a little over half of it is allocated, and it is serving 123 customer accounts. It's a little bit, what's a little bit interesting about this one is we do have a very large commercial customer, which does consume a fair amount of capacity. And so, because the RV park is a commercial customer, and so you have those RVs, all of those folks going to one central station, and then that's pumped to this treatment plant. So that does absorb a fair amount of capacity.
But that's included in these numbers?
That is correct. So planned expansion, we've completed the basis of design. We are looking to expand the facility to over 200,000 gallons a day. This will be a little over 1,100 homes, equivalent residential connections that will be able to be served by this. This is representing about a $9 million investment, just shy of that when you take into account surveying, engineering, geotechnical, plus construction. That gives you that 8.7 million number. And the $69 per gallon of treatment is a little bit on the high side, but it's because it's a smaller treatment system, and that's just part of the inflation issue that we've had to deal with in the utility industry. For the longest time, we had treatment that was about $15 to $18 per gallon of treatment. When the inflation hit, we built the Peters Creek facility, which is a 1.5 million gallon a day facility That was at $36 per gallon of treatment. And when you start looking at these smaller systems, that $69 per gallon of treatment is very consistent in the industry. So the design of the expansion is underway, and we are actively looking at pursuing grants to help with the funding of that particular project. Next slide. So septic to sewer conversions. We did one septic to sewer conversion successfully. It was in the Doctors Lake area, and that's some of the streets that we did convert. There was a $1.5 million grant that came through a state appropriation through the Water Management District. That grant funding did take care of the customer's plant capacity, connections, infrastructure in their yard, etc. We contributed the design effort for the force main and some of the capital infrastructure. We did realize a $20,000 per house on average cost for that particular project. So when you look at the 1.5 million that connected, I think it was like 78 or 79 homes in that 1.5. And that gives you a rough idea. That was about $20,000 a house ballpark, some a little more, some a little less. Connecting homes, septic to sewer, again, it depends. How far are you from the utility infrastructure in the Doctors Lake area? We had force mains that were capable of taking those wastes. They were already water customers of ours, so our utility infrastructure was very nearby. So it wasn't long mains to try and extend, and they were all pressurized pipe. So there were no gravity manholes, things like that, that can increase costs. So there's a number of things that relate to septic to sewer conversions. What is the capacity of the pipelines that are nearby? What is the pressure of those particular systems? Because if a force main is operating at a higher pressure, you can't use low pressure pumps to push it into a higher pressure force main. Road restoration. One of the things that was unique about Doctors Lake, in that area, we had a lot of very large diameter oak trees that we had to navigate. So we weren't just clear cutting, we were navigating a lot of natural vegetation and trees in the corridor. And plus storm drainage. A lot of times there's existing stormwater pipes that are in the right of ways, and we have to navigate those. Generally older systems will have infrastructure that's closer to the surface, which means your utility infrastructure is deeper. The deeper the utility infrastructure goes, increases your costs. So depending on those things, those will drive your cost for a septic to sewer conversion. We have been using estimates for roughly $40,000 to $50,000 a house in the work that we've been doing, prioritizing some septic to sewer, and we are interested in pursuing some of those grants. But I will say, in our septic to sewer policy to launch those projects, we have to have an area that roughly 50% of the residents are going to connect, because that makes it really important to use those funds and also recover any costs, because if people don't connect, we're not getting reimbursed. So that's real important. If you look at our standard infill policy, generally it requires 75% of people that are benefiting in an infill project to participate before CCUA will jump in and participate with that type of infill project. So it gives you some background with regard to that. So next slide. So again, I'll go back to you planning work your plan. We have a integrated resource plan that looks out 20 to 25 years in capital infrastructure and technical infrastructure. And so with this, there's always variables and unknowns with a forecast. And so in our integrated water resource plan, there are triggers based upon population growth and what that means as far as water and wastewater demands. As we hit those triggers, we can then start to institute additional alternative water supplies. But I will say all of the water supplies beyond what we currently do is withdrawing from the aquifer. We aerate, chlorinate, and we send it on. When you start adding treatment to that, it increases cost. And so we are currently testing a potable reuse pilot project. And so that is a multivariate project that in its treatment process, but the cost of that is substantially more than what we do now. Now, the benefit of those things, it does create a sustainable cycle. Instead of releasing treated effluent, reclaimed water to tide, you are then beneficially reusing it for the betterment of the community. But we want to obviously act, sustainably, both from the environment and the economic factors. And so conservation plays a big role of working within what the natural systems will allow, and then we can then institute those more sophisticated and costly systems over time. And I will say this is exactly what CCUA did with reclaimed water. So with reclaimed water, this was their CCUA strategy to deal with the total maximum daily loads for the St. Johns River, for those basin management action plans. We began instituting reclaimed water back in the 1990s. It was a more costly solution, but it was also the more sustainable solution. And so now Clay County CCUA is reaping the benefits of that, as other areas in the state are trying to move to implement reclaimed water at a much larger scale. Whereas currently we are using 70% of all effluent is beneficially reused for irrigation purposes, and we're looking by 2030 that'll be nearly 100%. So we will comply with Senate Bill 64. All right, so next slide. So we're not resting on our laurels. You will not see the grass growing underneath my feet. So we're actively involved with this North Florida projects effort. This is trying to address minimum flows and levels in the Suwannee Basin. And this is much like what the benefit to Keystone Heights with the Black Creek project. We see that as a model for addressing other minimum flows and levels in the state of Florida. And quite frankly, it's a very simple concept. So we went through a process with other stakeholders. This involves DEP, the St. Johns River Water Management District, the Suwannee River Water Management District, JEA, GRU, St. Johns County Utility Department, and us. So there are 7 entities that we did a conceptualization of looking at where there were water supplies and where there were water deficits. How do we connect those dots? So JEA had roughly 40 million gallons a day of treated effluent between their Buckman and Southwest plant that was being released to tide. Now they have to comply with Senate Bill 64. How could we help JEA make use, treat that to a higher degree, and then pump it to the west into the Suwannee Basin to help sustain the aquifer, the springs, the growing population, industries, etc. So that conceptualization, that report is done. We are now moving into a phase to actually do the feasibility study. And where the concept is just very simple. Treat for purpose. You treat the effluent that's coming out of those facilities, you move it to the west, you return it to the environment so it can be beneficial to the natural cycle in North Florida. And that will allow us to sustainably support the growing population, industries in Florida, etc., and protect the natural environment that we all enjoy. And so with that, that covers my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have several.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, do you know Mr. Joe Wiggins, who's here with us tonight?
I've met Joe a number of times.
Okay, so Joe, just for you, does this match up with what you're expecting as you go ahead and build out Sunrise?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Glad you two are talking. Second is, we have a state requirement to produce a comprehensive plan on a regular basis. We are going through that process right now. CCUA was a contributor last time we did it, and we'd be looking for you to help us out with updating for the new state requirement we have to submit to.
Certainly, we've provided the same support for the county and their updates.
Great. And my last question is, my background is a military person, looking at contingencies. We just saw a huge week-long blackout in Portugal. The entire country of Spain went dark. How long can we go without electrical power and still get water?
So is there any rep from Clay Electric here? Because I'm about to crack a joke. So we make the joke, and this is all in good humor, because the folks with Clay Electric are great to work with. The power may be out, but your utilities, water and wastewater, are still working. And so we have generators at every plant facility, and most of our pump stations are equipped with fixed mounted generators. All of those have convolts for fuel supply. Generally, our fuel supply is 3 days. We do numerous simulations based upon outages and what we can cover in a given time. We also have a 4,000 gallon tanker truck. We also have a contract with LV Hires. And so in disaster response, not only are we shuttling our own fuel truck, but based upon needs, LV Hires would be supplying us for fuel trucks. We look at that every single year. That's part of our disaster response and preparedness. And I'll even say we've gone further because we have deployed for the last 5 years at just about every major storm event. We have taken equipment, crews, technicians, operators, and deployed to the disaster zones to help them recover. And I will say our fuel trucks and other things have been a godsend. When we roll in and they're running out of fuel, we got it. And so everyone celebrates when our team rolls up. And I'll go further and say the governor gave a great photo op on Sentinel Island. Well, the JEA trucks were on the bridge behind the governor. I'll point out our troops took the landing craft and were already over there. So it gives you an idea how advanced our team is.
So if I heard that correctly, without resupply, they've got 3 days. But we have lots of resupply capability.
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Did y'all have any other questions? So to summarize, and thank you again for monetizing some of the details. I'm sure at some point we're going to have you come back, especially when we're working with the CRA and comp plan, as Dan stated, details, right? So from what I hear you saying, in order to qualify for a grant, you have to have 50% of the residents committing to the transition.
Not for the grant, for the participation in the infill policy, for that septic to sewer policy.
Okay. For the
It's a CCUA policy.
Okay, gotcha. I just make sure I have the correct terminology. And with our 1,706 citizens that you mentioned, at about 20,000 each, it's around 3.5 million from what my math is showing. So that's a number for us to think about, like when we were talking recently during our comp plan workshop. So that's, at least we kind of know what we're dealing with. And then I'm gonna get myself real familiar with the Senate Bill 64. I've heard about it. And I know the other cities are dealing with some of the same challenges. So I wanna make sure that we know all the details about that.
So the city of Keystone Heights is blessed in the fact that our facility there doesn't have a surface water discharge. So Senate Bill 64 is not going to apply to our facilities in Keystone Heights.
Okay.
Because we have rapid infiltration basins, so we treat it to a high degree and then let it infiltrate in through those basins. We have 2 river outfalls in the north part of our system, one from our Miller Street facility through the town of Orange Park, the other is through Fleming Island. They go to the St. Johns River. We have 2 what they call apricot discharges from Spencer's and our right out. They discharge to smaller creeks, but they have higher treatment capabilities. So we are actually looking at our planning. We'll be removing the regular discharge from the St. Johns River, but we will have to maintain the apricot discharges to maintain those ecosystems around those plants. And those are all compliant with Senate Bill 64. So that type of criteria will not apply to Keystone Heights.
Okay, isn't there some kind of state directive though to have conversion by a certain time?
By
I thought it was
2032.
2032, I thought is there any kind of a title to that direction?
I'd have to go look up the bill. When we were tracking it, we always called it Senate Bill 64, and it's been named that.
So
since.
it's part of that. Do you think it may be part of that you just mentioned?
Yeah.
Okay, I knew there was a deadline that was because I'm.
But it was
talking about-
2032. I think
2032?
it's either July 1 or October 1, something like that, 2032.
Great. Okay.
So along with the 50% figure, I heard a 70% figure as well.
If you're looking at just our typical infill policy, not a septic to sewer, so you want to put infrastructure down the road, it's not to convert septic tanks. that old policy has a 75% threshold.
Real good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
We really appreciate it. All right, next here, the Florida League of Cities annual conference is going to be held, I believe, in Orlando,
Yes.
August 14 through 16. So if y'all are interested, please reach out to Ms. Harris for assistance to attend.
Have they allowed registration yet?
Probably not yet.
Wow.
Probably, it has to be about a month out.
She checks that every day for us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I want a room at that hotel. I don't want to be traveling every day.
Yeah. Next is our Budget and Finance Committee planning for 2025-26 budget year. I'd like for us to look at some dates to consider.
So the September 1 and September 15th dates are good for me, but July 29th I will not be here. Wondering if we can change that date.
Would you and the mayor be suitable to like the 22nd, and would y'all be okay with doing it at like 10 a.m.
22nd
of July?
July.
So we're basically, we're trying to set some tentative dates, and for the audience, this is a subcommittee that the mayor by charter has to sit on, and the rest of them by consensus have put Councilman Lewandowski on. So everybody, the public's welcome to come, but our data points from the legislature, our certification of our assessed value, all those things are yet to come to us. So, like I said, when I briefed each of you individually last week, the basic structure will be wrapping around your strategic plan and the capital projects that you've instructed us to do, but then you as a subcommittee can get into more nitty-gritty stuff. So I guess all I'm trying to get from you tonight, if the 29th doesn't work, would July 22nd at 10 a.m. work for the two of you?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
At any time?
22nd at 10 a.m.
22nd at 10 a.m. Okay.
Be the first Budget and Finance Committee hearing. And we'll set more as we need to at that meeting.
And you'll be setting your maximum millage at your August. So make sure that's.
That's another budget related
Yeah.
August council meeting.
And that for our new council members is every year by statute, you're required to establish a millage rate that no matter what, you cannot go above. So you set what's called the maximum millage rate. You can always come down from it. This council in the past just stays at what we have at the stated rate, or that's what you've done. But those are considerations you give early on in the budget process.
That's the process. Okay.
Great. July 22nd, perfect. Next is sewer to septic conversion for Keystone Beach.
Yes, ma'am. So we're using the pavilion a lot. Every day, especially since school's been out, really since Memorial Day weekend, that whole beachfront property across the street's just been packed. We're pumping the septic tank down there about once a month right now. We've got a one quote to convert that to get it up to our lift station, and we're looking for a couple more at very specific sizes for the pump and the pipe, so we get matching apples for apples quotes. I don't think it'll exceed $20,000, and sorry, Rich, I should have prepared you for this. What I'm asking, if it does, would you guys go ahead and give me the latitude if I can get 3 quotes up to $25,000? Every time I go out to do something now, it's always more expensive than I think it's going to be. And I'm just asking for a little more flexibility beyond the $20,000 up to $25,000. And I believe I've heard all of you guys, you're very interested in getting off septic tanks and 2 sewer tanks, so maybe we lead by example close to our own largest lake.
So before we make a motion on that, I'd just like to clarify, I think it's written incorrectly. It's written as sewer to septic conversion.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be septic to sewer conversion.
Yeah.
I'm mildly dyslexic in all those years in the military flying advanced aircraft. I never admitted that, but now it doesn't matter.
So Councilman, that was a test and you passed. So
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad you're gonna go out.
Keeping us all in line up here.
So I'd like to move that we give the authority to the city manager to spend no more than $25,000 to create the contract necessary for the septic to sewer conversion at the Keystone Beach.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next is to authorize city manager to enter into a lease agreement for additional office space.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. So let me just make one point. September 1st is Labor Day, so those dates that I gave you, and we got it correct back in January when we set all our dates for the year. Our September normal city council meeting, which would be September 1st, the first Monday, will be September 8th, the second Monday. And Mayor, you, I think, are scheduled to be out. So Vice Mayor, you will be facilitating that meeting for us on September 8th, and that will be your first public hearing on the budget as well. So just, the dates I put in front of you, I had it wrong on my own personal calendar when I made them, so that'd be September 8th. So we're looking at July 22nd, September 8th, and I may have to call you guys and make sure I have the statutory space between the 8th and the 15th now.
Would you please add the August meeting for maximum millage determination?
Yes, sir, I've made a note of that,
Yeah.
to get that on the August agenda.
What was that date, August 1?
It's
Just,
August.
just our normal August.
Yeah, it's just normal city council meeting in
Oh,
August.
okay, yeah, for the first, gotcha.
Should be August 4th.
Yeah. So, the office space. I'll have to actually bring a lease agreement in front of you to be approved, but I'm asking for your consensus as a group. I've found some office space that would facilitate 3 more workstations, for some of our people. We've kind of outgrown our back rooms down here. And, I think that'll be at a cost of roughly $650 a month plus electric, at 205 Magnolia. I've got a lease, draft from Mike Bell, who lives here part-time, and I just need to keep working through that with him. We couldn't get all I's dotted and T's crossed to everybody's satisfaction before this meeting. But your next time you have a CRA workshop or something like that, I'll probably have a brief special meeting where you can approve the lease if that's good with everybody.
Y'all have any questions?
We really don't need to motion anything, you know.
Right, I just try to keep everything in front of you guys and the public, so I put it on here.
Appreciate that, yes.
Creative thinking.
The only comment I would make is that we need this, but I don't want this to be the permanent solution. We need to find a different solution to be our permanent solution. This is just a temporary fix.
Yes, sir. Everything takes a while, and what that will likely look like is me going with one of the 3 engineering firms that all have architectural services that they can tap into and look at going out or up or something with the building that we're in, and that always takes longer than it's supposed to.
I'm a big fan of a multi-use building. Get together with the county, put together a library complex with the city complex, with the Department of Motor Vehicles, with the tax collector, with the sheriff's office. Put us all in one big government complex building. That's where
And we've had a discussion with the county manager. He actually has a real estate guy on staff who's, the only place that is logical for all that kind of a South Clay County Emergency Operations Center, a place for every constitutional office to provide services, a place for us, a larger meeting room for you guys, would be the old True Value building, which we can have for a mere $2.5 million.
Oh, is that
asking
all?
price. That's
Oh,
all.
that's all.
So, anyway, all those conversations are going and moving at the speed of government bureaucracy.
Got it.
Charlie, may I suggest,
Yes, sir.
for the benefit of the public, if you would kind of describe the driving factor here, what is the need for the additional officer? I think it's a good news story about how the city
Yes, sir.
is doing more.
So in your consent agenda tonight and in your budget amendment that you approved in May, is staff. And then you guys can go on the agendas and minutes area and just look at our organization chart. When I walked into the building in January of 2024, I had a fiscal clerk who was a retired special education teacher, and within a couple of weeks, she went back to teaching. And Miss Wendy Harris, and that was kind of what we had. So we built out from there, and you guys have developed a strategic plan. You guys were doggedly on that from the moment I arrived. You approved one in April. So we have staffed out to build that strategic plan. I know God loves me because He sent me Jamie Booth out of retirement at just the right time, because we needed help with everything water related, St. Johns River Water Management, BEP, and all that has flowed so well, and we already knew those contacts. You guys wanted to do more events, and Ms. Bell has taken that on in spades, and the mayor keeps up with the percentages, but those have gone up tremendously, and just with high quality improvements. I have probably 20 projects that you guys have expressed interest in and approved that we're slowly ticking off on my board, and Mr. Wright has taken on that and everything else that I haven't been able to do, and is pedaling as fast as he can. So and just in general, I mean, we have people that work the front desk, we have people that come out of the back to help people with things, and I don't have phone calls backing up on people being upset with City Hall and city government right now. And that was a major change. And I don't even know that's what you were asking for, Councilman Welsh, but because of all that and the projects that we have going on and the need for space to plan events and to plan capital projects, we just need a little more space to work with.
And really, to add to it, the events have been amped up by at least 40%, and your staffing has been increased by at least 22% since April of last year. And so really, even I don't have an office here. I'm one of the few mayors in the state that don't have an office. But it's fine, I'd rather have one of our employees have that space. But we need places for folks to do their job. And that's all for the community, things that they're doing to support all the efforts like that we're talking about and asking, all the projects. They gotta have space to lay out, and right now we got people in cubby holes and stuff. We don't have a place for the sheriff's office to come in and spend their time to work here if they need to. So to me, it's a good outside the box thinking for now. I'm totally in agreement with Dan. I think we need to look at a bigger idea, but we just have to see what that might look like, you know. At the pace that things go, I think the reality is we need it right now. We got stuff that's coming that's gonna make us even busier, I think. So I think it's a good creative idea.
Yes, ma'am. So, and I got you off track there, but did y'all act on item 21, the sewer, septic? The septic is going to sewer at Keystone Beach, you did that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're PG clean there and on item 22.
Yep,
Thank you.
we're good. Tree mitigation plan for Sunrise Estates. I don't know who was presenting on that. I know Mr. Wiggins is here tonight.
So I'll give a brief synopsis of what we've been working with Ms. Fleet, and this was the loan thing that was kind of left apart from the previous developer who wanted to come in. But I think you guys all have the sheet from Ms. Fleet that kind of shows what is happening
Yes.
as far as the tree mitigation plan. So essentially, we have a tree mitigation plan that was not approved prior, but we're looking for approval tonight, to go ahead and continue moving forward. We have a planning and zoning meeting on the 16th, to go ahead and look at everything else, to go ahead and approve those plans as put forth. Ms. Fleet's been invaluable in this process. Just wanted to ask you guys to look at this, and to review it and to approve it. Essentially, I don't want to read, everything that's included, but just wanted to see if you guys had any questions on it before we approve this.
So I would ask Mr. Wiggins, have you seen the Fleet and Associates review of your tree mitigation plan?
Yes, I have.
Are you okay with that?
Yes, it needs our approval.
Okay, our what do you call them? Our architects, planners have reviewed the plan. They recommend this. I'm not a tree expert, but if Mr. Wiggins is happy and they're happy, I'm happy.
And plus, I know they'll be working with you all as
That's
well,
right.
so
That's right.
I'm sure it's gonna be fine.
I'm a tree nerd, so I'm hard, so.
But it was a nice detailed,
Yes,
plan
ma'am.
on what is gonna be
That's great.
executed, so,
Yes, ma'am.
which is great.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other comments?
Now, we are just approving for a tree.
Tree mitigation. That's
Tree
right.
mitigation plan.
That's it for tonight. Yes, sir.
I'll move that we approve the tree mitigation plan as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, moving right along. For discussion, Councilman Lewandowski, comprehensive plan.
Yes, so, we have a strategic plan now. We're working on our budget plan for the next year, but we have a separate state requirement for a comprehensive plan. And, I want to set up a workshop to get us started on that. We don't have a date planned yet, do we?
No, sir, but if I could call Mr. Booth up to just hit a few areas he's been working on with that.
I just didn't want to shout it from the back, Councilman, make sure that it went out for public. So the last time we talked about the comprehensive plan, Ms. Fleet gave a presentation to the city council on, how it went, what the timelines would be, or excuse me, what the actions would need to be taken. At the end of that discussion, as I recall, it was basically that the Planning and Zoning Committee needed to become involved in the comprehensive planning process. And so spoke with Ms. Fleet earlier today. What we're proposing is that we add to the agenda item on the Planning and Zoning meeting, which I'm forgetting the dates, next Tuesday?
Next Monday.
Next, is to present that same presentation the City Council received, and also go into discussions about the different steps and actual scheduling of meetings to get going with all the different steps that are laid out in the comprehensive planning process. And so we propose to roll it into the planning and zoning and then future meetings after that, sir.
Okay, I'll wait for the results of next week's meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Todd Bills, the refurbished rotary wheel behind the city hall.
Good evening, everybody. Todd Beals, President, Rotary Club of Keystone Heights. Basically, what we have is we want to do a community project, which in turn, we have a concrete slab, basically, that's out back that I don't even know if half the people around here to know what it is. So even myself, when I went out there, did not even realize that was a rotary wheel that's out there. So what we're looking at as a Rotary Club is coming in, cleaning up the rotary wheel, possibly painting it to make the aesthetics look better, people understand what it is, and we're looking at possibly putting up a monument that explains what Rotary is and what it's about. So that's what we're asking, if that's something that City Council would approve, and then we would look at moving forward with that project.
Any questions?
I think it's wonderful that you came and did this decades ago, and now you're willing to come back and refurbish it and make it nice and new again. I think that's wonderful.
Well, we appreciate it. Do you guys have any questions?
Is there anything that we can do for you to help you with this project? I know this is something you're saying you want to do.
Right now, we're looking at it as a club, just doing it as one of our community projects. And I don't think at this point we need any help. We are looking at some different vendors for the possible painting, the concrete. We want, once we do it, and we want it to last. We don't want to be out there every couple of years trying to, having to come out there, fix it, and correct whatever's, whatever damage has happened to it. So those are a couple of things we're looking at now, as far as that goes. Talking to specific painters that can, that are specialized in concrete paint. So.
Okay.
All right.
I think
Thank
it's
you
a great
guys.
idea. Appreciate you
Appreciate
doing
it.
that. Thank you for coming tonight. Okay, next, we have had in the last week, I know we had the Keystone Heights Heritage Commission had their meeting, and we had a gal named Dr. Heisner who came and shared with them some ideas for doing a partnership with them with her museum. And since then, they did a workshop last week. Now, I was at the original commission meeting, but I could not be at it last week with the workshop, which you all spent some time, and I believe Dan and Dave, you guys were there, right? And so when I looked at the information and in considering things, and I think we still have some work to do on things, but I did want Mr. Commando to weigh in on how it works when you have public versus private partnership in business situations. Because I think that's probably one of the primary things we need to think about.
Sure. So, thank you, Mayor. I learned a little bit about the project earlier this afternoon, and some of the questions that I had are, one, we have to see whether or not there's space to do kind of what the proposal is. Two, every decision that you make, according to statute, requires you to have a public purpose and a business impact statement. With those things, the concept of a public-private partnership has statutory requirements that you have to go through as far as kind of what the benefits are to the citizens of the city. And, as we hear the proposal, we can kind of move forward with any questions that you might have.
You have any questions?
I would like to ask if it's appropriate now to have Ms. Deidre Murphy come up and talk to us about the proposal.
Okay.
Thank you for allowing me to
Can you
speak
move your
this.
mic down a little bit? Thank you, babe.
Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm Deirdre Murphy, and I'm co-chair of the Heritage Commission, as you know. Just to give you a little bit of history on all of this, several years ago, I did a proposal, remember all this, to the city for a Keystone Heights Museum. The timing at that time was just not right. And I felt, though, that we really did need to preserve and protect the artifacts and our history in the community. In the spring of 2025, the Heritage Commission put on a Chautauqua event, and in that Chautauqua event, we had a pop-up museum. The idea was to test the waters to see if there was any interest in our community about the history of Keystone. Despite the fact that it was a cold and rainy weekend, we had enormous attendance. There was definitely an interest in preserving the history of Keystone, and the community did see that we had a lot of artifacts that were stored in so many different locations within the community that hardly anyone except a few of us have ever seen. With the encouragement from the pop-up museum event, the Heritage Commission began to look at other locations and the viability of, once again, having a museum. Last month, we received a call from Dr. Rhonda Heiser. She's here with us this evening, and I'll introduce her in a minute. She wants to partner with the City of Keystone Heights and the Heritage Commission to create a museum. The Heritage Commission met with her, like the mayor said, at our council meeting. At our commission, the Heritage Commission meeting rather, and there was, Nina, you were there, and another council member. But what we decided at that time is that we really needed a workshop So we had a workshop and 2 council members showed to our workshop. And that was our opportunity to explore and ask a lot of other questions to Dr. Heiser regarding this, this community agreement that we were trying to form with this her 501(c) and having a workshop not only gave us the opportunity to get a little bit more information from her, because what she's wanting to do is offer us an opportunity to have the funds and her expertise to help us with a museum. So I would like to introduce her. She is the representative and of the Board of Directors for the Museum of Southern History, and she comes today with a business plan and a formal proposal to partner with the City of Keystone. Dr. Heiser.
Hello.
Hi, welcome, Dr. Heiser.
Wow, y'all have a busy city, I tell you. As I explained to some of you, and some of you have not met yet, and everything, but having a 501(c)(3) museum, and especially in a small rural area, helps you financially. Not only will it do that, but it's a very simple procedure. All we would like to do is have a place to lease, a land. And we have discussed this. We're willing to put a building on that piece of property. We have an opportunity in your packets I put where we have negotiated a piece of land, a building, 10,000 square foot building that would normally cost about $135,000 with all the warranties and everything. We could get it for $85,881 delivered here at not any of your expenses. It would be ours. We would be able to have it within 90 days. And that would all it would be. And in return, all we would need is to lease your land. In return, what this city gets is a grant writer, me. Municipal, as well as museums. You don't have a municipal grant writer as far as I know. Some of the things I've heard here tonight, you desperately need. Your furniture and everything, I don't know how old this building is, but your furniture should be already covered by a grant. As far as your audio and everything, grant. The grants are out there. They're not affected by what's going on with the tariffs or anything else that are coming our way, or inflation, or anything else. It's where to know where to look, how to fill out the grants. That's the other proposal that we have to make for the city, is to create 4 new careers. One is grant writing, one is museum science, and library science, and research. We have so many opportunities to bring to our young children who have no idea that these are growing careers. I have spoken with Gina Greenridge from the Watson College over here at Santa Fe. And I was told that I had to look for the Bureau of Labor Statistics to see if these particular careers would be in any way progressing in this particular world of employment. They are. They're one of the most progressive, and 11% progressing since 2023, and they're still looking for the other ones. They haven't got that other data in. You may think that's not as much, but it is, especially in academia, because it's outgrown itself without having digitation. And I say digitization, I should say, because we are a world with computers. But most of our research, our documents, Library of Congress, all of that is not digitized. But we have one of the largest digitized libraries. I went today, that's why I'm not properly dressed, and I do apologize for that. We have 8,129 history volumes. That's not, this is individual books. 3,298 genealogical. Our history goes from the Mayflower to current. We also have over 2,000 history books having to do with Viking, the Europe, Spain, France, other countries. We have 695 volumes of aeronautic and space. We have over 1,300 rare book with first editions. We have over 205 books that are out of print that we have license to. And as far as with everything else, we have over 53 publications, periodicals, that with 21 out of date that people can't get anymore. All digitized.
And I appreciate you sharing all of that. And we've had already the workshop,
Yes,
and I
ma'am.
know the commission meeting just less than the last 2 weeks. Plus, we have really massive information that you provided for us, which I really greatly appreciate. I think that we as a council have to, personally, I think we need to look at getting more information on several things. Number one is, just like Mr. Commando mentioned, the thing with private, with a public business partnership, the details, and I understand that council would have to vote on that to make that become a thing, as right now we are not, the Heritage Commission is not structured to do such. So it will be a process that we would have to go in and change within our ordinance. Maybe, I don't know, it's not charter, right, it's ordinance, right, Rich?
For the Heritage Commission?
Because of it being a private and public partnership, and then a 501c3 partnering with Heritage Commission.
I don't think that they could, because I mean, they're essentially an advisory council, so,
Well-
and they wouldn't have the ability to lease land because they don't have the house.
Yeah, see, they fall under us,
And-
as an arm of us, so they have constraints that you don't have in a 501c3.
Right.
But our mayor knows a lot about the Heritage Commission.
I do, I love the Heritage Commission.
What if we, Madam Mayor, what if we went to a different direction in that, as far as with the Museum of Southern History, we were able to lease the
I'm not saying that
land?
we can't do that. Mr. Knight, did you have a question?
I do have some
Yes,
questions.
sir.
No, you first.
No, so to me, right now, just everything I've read through, even from the meetings, and I was at the one for the commission meeting, and I did see notes and all on the meeting from last week, which was great, I thought, and I read through the materials. I think that we have two things, the partnership legality piece of it, and location. Regardless of anything else, those are key. And whatever it is, in my opinion, it has to be inside the city, and it's gotta be walkable from downtown.
Yes.
I looked at the options for location, and I zeroed in basically on one or two options, period. And so I think it's a matter of exploring in depth further on possibilities. But I'd like to hear also from Mr. Knight what you think has been presented.
I just had a question or two. Do y'all have a museum located off Herschel Walker over in Ortega?
We did.
You did?
And I will tell you that the gentleman that was running that
Okay.
was not doing it. He stole money,
Okay.
and he was selling antiquities, and I caught him. Nobody else wanted the position, and I didn't want the antiquities to go to anyone else that might have other ideas about turning them into wrong things, so I have a new board and we stored the information.
You know, communities have, there's a certain localism, a certain vibe too. And Ortega has a little bit of an echo to Keystone in some ways, especially the light right now. So I'll just tell you, we'll get around the legalities of it, but I certainly would like to see the museum. And I'd like to have some conversations with you about what that narrative that the children would see might look like of the
It
story.
wouldn't be
that
what
we tell.
it would not be anything like it was. I can
Okay.
promise you that.
Okay.
That's why it needs to come to a place that wants it for the right reasons.
Well, we love our country and we love our heritage and
Yes,
history.
well, I'm a member of
Okay.
the DAR. I'm also the Daughters of the Confederacy, also Daughters of the Union,
Okay.
1812, all the way down through. I did my service with the government, not as in the military, but in other things. But the fact of the matter is that as far as with the military, to me, I can't thank them enough for having what we have.
So, I love museums, my kids, every time we go anywhere, we go to museums, we go to art galleries, all of that. So, I just want you to know, I just had to ask that one or two
Yes, sir.
questions there, I love that area, so.
Yeah, but there is
Appreciate what you're doing.
I'll be very honest with you. Legally, of that, and we pay rent every month, equivalent to about $1,000. And so, every month that it sits there, and we were left with $15,000, and that was it. And I've been paying the rent until that flag, the Abraham Lincoln flag, sold. And I donated that money. I'm not taking the money back. And I showed people during the Heritage Commission meeting that we have over $369,000 to bring here in our checking account. And that's enough to buy a building and do other things. And that's what it would be, is to put a museum here. And not only bring that, but we also bring digitization to separate things. As far as to bring y'all's stuff in, so that it's like, if we need to know what this piece of art is or what this antiquity is, we have it, not only who it belongs to, where it came from, but the whole history of it on the computer, just like that. So it's not like anything you would think about.
So you would commit to working with the city manager, the city attorney, the mayor, whomever you need to work with to.
Personal
get this
affidavit,
right? All right.
right there.
Yeah,
And I'll
Thank you.
approach, please.
sure. Thank you very much.
I get one to the Heritage.
No, I appreciate it.
You don't, that's not the line.
And really, like I said, Dr. Heisner, we have to look at things, like I said, legal side of it and location. And then I think we could formulate what is optional for us to do. And that's gonna take some time. And we're not gonna have a meeting in July. It's gonna be probably into August.
Well, there's
But-
one thing we do have to be considerate of. Our steel buildings will be going up, okay? The reason I was able to get a really good, like 66% off of this is because it's a closeout building. So it's canceled.
Yeah,
And
we're not
I
gonna be in
think
a situation to move
the
forward. with
tariff
anything
on the
totally
steel
like that.
buildings are gonna be 50%, and we won't be able to afford
Yeah,
what we're
I understand.
offering now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we might have a vacant building in town. Does it have to be your building? Is there some kind of arrangement we can work out?
Perhaps, it just depends on what you might have. If it's gonna be within the city limits and everything, we have to have enough parking. But what you have, I'm open for anything. I have a board of directors that I have to answer to also. We were just trying to give enough of everything. As far as room, 10,000 square feet is rather large. It gives everyone, we have a lot of money left over, almost a little over 300, well, a little less than $300,000, that we could purchase other things with. That's what I was looking at. But if not, the cards fall where they may.
Well, I mean, we've got a recess.
Mhm.
We don't like to move fast.
Oh, I understand.
And so, I mean, what I'm saying, I can't speak for the others, but I think everyone up here would like to see museums. Just give us some time.
Oh, I'm just letting you know, that I understand, most definitely. I don't like to move fast either, but I know what's coming. I've been in the steel industry all my life. I put tanks in there, that's the ones I designed, and I know what's coming, and I know that, we won't be able to afford a lot of stuff when it comes to the steel
Okay.
and aluminum.
We know, we've been talking to tennis court, how long now? It's up to $200,000.
Well,
So,
it's not
we
gonna
know.
it's not gonna get any better, and that $1,000 a month is gonna hit us every month, and that money's going just to be wasted. So,
Thank you very
for your
much.
time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Can I just?
Yes, absolutely.
So I was at her first presentation and I was at the workshop and we've already talked 2 hours plus of all kinds of different aspects and locations and costs and money and history and background. We've talked about making it not just the Southern Museum of Southern History and the Keystone Heights Museum, but also perhaps trying to locate and find artifacts from the old Wings of Dreams Museum and bring that in. We've talked about a phased approach and multiple locations, not just a downtown location, because there's no way you're gonna get 10,000 square feet downtown Keystone Heights. And so, there's a lot of stuff that's already been talked about and looked over, and I am 100% behind this, and I want to ask our city attorney to help us look at the legal mechanisms to make this happen, and even draft up some stuff for us, so that we can perhaps look at leasing property or entering into a, for lack of a better term, interlocal agreement with the 501c3. I don't know if that's the right term. You know, perhaps we need a separate private partnership, public partnership document. But I would like to get this process moving. I just don't want to put it off till August.
And I don't want to hold you up, but in order to draft something, I need direction as to what you want to see, what are the kind of conditions that you want to see in place. I mean, the offer of the building sounds fantastic, but even if we have the property, there's often site work that has to happen. You have to take care of drainage, there's parking requirements for the city. So all those things have to be worked out, even really before you get to the ability to memorialize whatever your agreement is.
Yeah, so we've already looked at that. 9,000 square feet would require, according to city ordinance, 30 parking spaces. The only piece of property big enough is the Sunrise Park. That's 5 acres. We're gonna need all 5 acres for this. This is a much smaller thing than that.
What are the restrictions on what you can use the park for?
Not that I know. It's not like the natural park over here.
I know we do with the natural park, I don't know if we do with Sunrise Park.
I don't think we have that over there.
Sometimes we just have to look back into how that property came into the ownership. of the
Well,
city.
then that sounds like one of the things we ought to look into. Are there any restrictions there? It's not gonna take the whole park, but then if it took, say, for example, the east side of the park, closest to the water treatment plant, how much would we need? That kind of thing. I think we need to start working on that now. Look at it. Because I think we won't be able to make a good decision until we have this kind of detail nailed down. Otherwise, we're just gonna be, well, we're not sure. We don't know how we do it. I think we need to throw some mud at the wall and see what sticks.
And that price that I quoted had all the engineering plans, site manager, project manager, all of that was all in there, and so that was the deal.
Right, and I would think that the airport actually sets a good precedent, and whereas, anything built on the airport property, if the company walks away, that property improvement belongs to the city of Keystone Heights. And so, write it up just like they do at the airport. And it gives them incentive to stay, and it gives us incentive to welcome property improvement.
We would agree to that.
Do you have any comments?
Dan, it sounds like you're saying, and I agree with you, that there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of information to flush out, so in order to make the meeting in August useful, Otherwise, you know, we get to August and we just kick in the can another
Yeah.
month. And I agree that I think we need to proceed with that. All the based.
I mean, if the council allows, can we explore the Sunrise Park?
I personally am not for Sunrise Park. I think it's not in the right downtown area. I'd like to see our museum also include a welcome center. And I feel like that's just kind of to the farther edge of the city. And, you know, I don't see that being a big draw for people to go out there just to go to a museum, personally. And to me, it's gotta be something in the walking area of downtown Keystone. Yes, Dieter? Yeah, and we're gonna have to move on from this, because it's getting, thanks.
Thank you. At our last workshop, we proposed that we would have 3 separate locations.
Right.
And that initially put the largest building in Sunrise Park where we had the room, because that would be the bulk of the artifacts. But that we definitely wanted something in the downtown core so that we had a walkability feature, so that we still stayed as a walkable downtown and people could see that we had a museum and a storefront there, if you will. And so all of the Keystone artifacts would be in that storefront, and that we would then have transportation, which really is 1.5 miles down Nightingale to Sunrise Park from the Magnolia location. So if we were to take the Magnolia location that is kind of catty-corner to where the old firehouse was, we would have parking there for where the old firehouse was, and then across the street, Keystone owns that location, where right now it just looks like a bunch of metal old buildings that are kind of more like shacks. But that could be another location for the storefront and made to look like it's part of the Keystone Heights, identity, if you will, in keeping with our walkability. And so that would be our core museum. And this would be not the Southern Museum, it would be the Keystone Heights Museum. And then eventually go out to the airport and have some of the aeronautic things, depending on what we could, glean from Bob Ole and so forth. So I just wanted to mention that we had at the workshop talked about 3 separate locations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just agree.
Yeah.
In the towns where, somewhere around here, in the town where, the first thing the only place that's big enough for a building like that is Sunrise.
Right.
But it's way over there. I don't think over there.
I think what you're suggesting is, and we talked about this at the workshop, that we could put a storefront,
Yes,
so to
I
speak,
understood that.
within walkable, and it's kind of give them a taste of what we have, and if they're interested and want to see a lot more, it's out of Sunrise.
Yeah, I
So
understood.
it's kind of give them, okay, kind of give them an acquaintance.
So I'm open to embracing being a little bit of a troublemaker tonight. That's part of Southern history.
Go for it.
What I don't know if we need a motion, but I think there might be some sympathetic ears on the council to at least giving your board something. You mentioned your board, you mentioned August. So.
Not me on August.
Okay, well, we need to do something to get forward, and, 100,000, it's a lot of money, but if you get the right grant, we might be building something way bigger from scratch down the road. So that would be more conducive to locations or other things that we talked about. I just don't want to lose the opportunity.
But I'll get through that.
The opportunity goes both ways. So do we need some kind of motion for y'all to continue negotiations on this? What do you guys need here to get this going forward?
More time, more space, and more people. So we're gonna clear this room out after the planning and zoning meeting, and this room's gonna become everything about the 4th of July till probably about the 8th of July, okay? You've got a 2-week block of time between the 9th and the 24th of September to get your public records in order, which are not and have not been for, I don't even know how long. Which probably uses the space in this room. We might be pushing you down the hill or something like that for the budget hearings in September. I've been over with you many times, everything else that's going on. So in conjunction with the planning and zoning, I'm making notes for Charlie right here. So in the planning and zoning meeting on the 16th, or possibly a CRA meeting on June 23rd, I might be asking for a special meeting for me to bring on somebody that does this kind of work to keep it all going, and there will be parameters, price tags, background checks, all those things involved if nobody in one of our 3 engineering firms has that. But if you're asking what you need from me, I just need to be very transparent as your manager. All this sounds great. I don't want to miss the opportunity either. I've probably lived here longer than everybody on the council combined. I think this would be wonderful. However, your current city staff doesn't have the capacity, so I gotta figure that out.
Well, and that might be a good place to start, is to maybe just at least start kind of writing down what the anticipated cost would be. So if it takes a person or anything that we can think of, and it'll help, we can talk to each one of you about those things.
I've got one question. Everybody wants it to be downtown area, but do you have the space for?
We do have a space.
Not 10,000 square feet.
Not even
10,000
10,000 square feet, but even for a decent museum, you have to have at least 6,000 square feet. That's to accommodate enough of just something for people to go through, because you have to have other things besides just exhibits. You have to have, a place to repair things, you have to have offices, you have to have certain, there's more to it than just walking into a museum and say, oh gee, wow, that's great. There's so much more to it, and the collections and everything. So that's what I'm saying, if there's nothing you have that could fit in that area in the city that you're looking at, then we're spinning the wheels. If you have nothing, if you're not willing to go out and you have we're gonna stay in and there's nothing there.
Well, just like we stated, we just have to look at what we have, which is very limited area to do anything. What are those options, and what are the legal piece of it for the partnership? Or how do we go about doing something with you, which would maybe you lease from us? We don't know. That's stuff that has to be explored. Even though we have a ton of information, those are 2 key things, I think, before anything can happen.
Well, I can.
And just like Charlie said, we did a strategic plan. The museum, fortunately, is in the strategic plan. I'm 100% wanting this ever since I moved here.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the thing is, we have to do it right, and we gotta make sure we're doing it right for the right reasons. It's not just about us, it's about the community.
Yes, ma'am.
The schools. Who's gonna be interested in this, We did the Chautauqua, that was the first time here, at least since I lived here. So I think that we just have some more details we have to put together, so we really know where we stand with that. And then we can explore, be creative about what it's gonna look like, potentially. But that's kind of where we are, I think, at this point.
As far as with that goes and everything, Madam Mayor, I've already gone through, and you'll see the paperwork and everything, I've done most of that legwork for you and for Keystone Heights. To the extent.
We're not ready to do anything, Dr. Meisner, at this
I
point.
understand that, that's what I was waiting to, I already know that, but here again, that's what I'm looking at, and I am a retired attorney also.
Yeah.
And I do know how to be able to work things, and I do know that, and I do understand, and I appreciate that.
Okay,
So, I understand, thank you.
thank you.
I'm gonna just try something here and see what the council says. I would like to explore the possibility of leasing I'm gonna say 1 to 2 acres at Sunrise Park for the purpose of establishing a Keystone Heights / Museum of Southern History.
I'll say, if you'll make a motion, I'll second it.
I'll make that motion, and let's just talk about it. Can we, it's not saying we're doing anything yet, it's just moving us forward, showing a commitment, and I wanna say, Charlie, you're doing a great job, and your plate is full, and I get that. And, my opinion would be, let's take 1, 2, or I don't know how many, set them aside. This is more important to me. Take your lowest hanging fruit, just put pause, hit the pause button, and move forward on this instead. I don't want to overburden you. I don't think that's good for you and staff.
Sir, it's not about being overburdened, and I'll acquiesce to Rich's understanding, but we put this on the agenda for discussion. I had discussions with each of you individually prior to this meeting for discussion. What we did not advertise to the public was an intention to lease space to somebody for any purpose on Sunrise Park tonight.
We're looking into it.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to be looking into it. I just need a little more capacity, but I did not anticipate on you guys voting. If you're making a motion in a second, that feels like we're fixing to vote on something that wasn't advertised to the public tonight. That was down for a discussion.
Okay, so I put this on I asked for this to
Yes,
be
sir.
on, and it was not my intent to limit this to discussion only. So I've never been in a meeting where the city council is not allowed to put out a motion. I don't understand, it's on the agenda, why can't we put a motion out?
I think it's reasonable that the public might expect if we have something on the agenda that we might want to vote on it.
So we're kind of splitting hairs. Honestly, I mean, you're giving us direction. I understand what you're looking to do.
Okay.
You don't need, like I said, you did it with consensus earlier. You're not any different than what you asked for before.
Okay. All right, I withdraw my motion. Okay.
So we are going to move on, to the next thing. And what I have on here was, we recently completed our performance evaluation of Charlie for his first year here as our city manager. And really, I know that you, Dave, and Ryan were not included in that because we completed that before you all came on board, or before you were elected. So it's, the three of us, and we've seen those. So basically, just so the audience knows, we created a template, which we felt like is the right way to do this, and look at skills based on the role and graded them independently. Each of us took that form and graded Charlie on different areas of his job, and we added narration. Then we asked Mr. Commando to take those scores and average them for us, and came back to us with what that is. And then what we do is meet with him one-on-one to talk about the rating and things that he's done great and things that we'd like to see him change. And really, overall, Mr. Van Zandt has performed above average, in my opinion. And I know Speedy and certainly you, Dan, have seen the reviews. What I want to do is ask you all to consider a motion for an increase in salary. And based on my information, and I talked to Mr. Commando about this, CPU percent is typically what's used in this type of arena. And I want to say the references that I came up with stated somewhere between 3 to 5%, but it could also be higher. That's up to us.
I think you mean CPI.
CPI, well, he said.
There was the CPI view. I mentioned that Vice Mayor Hart, that was his metric that he always used.
So the price index.
Right, yes. Yeah, and I do have the references if anybody wants to see that. So, I want to ask your input on what you want to do with this. It's just something I wanted to get a decision on. Any thoughts? Any recommendations?
I'm very happy with our city manager. I just, think he's doing a stupendous job. I don't know if he shared this with you, but for example, we've looked at expanding the park. And he's already been in contact with the owner of the property. And, you know, he gets on things and he does things and he makes things happen. And I have not heard of any complaints from the staff. He's a professional. So I'm supportive.
Steve?
We need to make a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I wanna say, you know, Charlie walked into a handful of things, I mean, challenges, to say the least. And complete transparency with us, talking with us regular, several times a week, sometimes several times a day. You can't ask for more than that. And I'm above the moon proud of what has happened, because when you have great leadership, it tumbles down to everyone around them. It infects them with the excitement and energy. And I'm just really proud to be part of it. I just returned from a meeting where I heard a lot of city council members not say the same thing about their city managers. So I do feel we're lucky and we're in a really special place right now in our city. So I know that there's going to be even more greater things that are going to come. So yeah, we need a motion and also a recommended percent increase. Yeah. So I don't know what you all think.
Well, as you may recall, several meetings ago, we agreed to change his contract, so now he's getting reimbursed for the medical that he doesn't require the city to pay for.
Right.
So he did receive a significant increase that way. But that does not mean that we shouldn't give him a pay increase for.
Right, because that shouldn't have been taken out to begin with.
Yeah, it was because of the way that Councilman Hart proposed his motion for hiring Mr. Van Zandt.
Mm-hmm.
But we did agree to go back and pay him that back pay.
Right.
And so I think that helps. I don't know, I try to be in the 3 to 4% personally, but I don't, what do you feel? I got 1.5 as a teacher.
I got
Not
one.
There you go, I got 1%, you know, so.
Well, like I said, the average is 3 to 5, and it can be higher if you choose to do that. I look at an above average performance, should easily be a 4.
Split it down.
If we're in that range.
Let's make it 4%. Split it.
4, shoot down the middle.
I'll move that we raise the city manager's pay by 4% of his base pay.
I get a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we'll hear some more Army stories.
No, we're gonna hear how great helicopters are.
Did you like that motion?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was not anticipating that. It's a pleasure to work for this group. It truly is. A great honor.
Thank you very much. Next, we have council comments. Ryan, have any comments?
No.
No? Ken?
I would like to ask that we schedule a CRA meeting. One of the things that happened at the Heritage Commission was the mural was brought up. And I believe that they have approved a design for the mural, and there's an expenditure, and I don't want to get into the details, but we as a CRA need to meet, and we need to approve that, and the artist is going to lose a helper if we wait too long, and so I really would like to get a CRA meeting scheduled so that we can move forward on the mural.
I sent you emails today in regards to June 23rd as a CRA meeting.
Awesome.
June 23rd at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
Now that, I have marked on my calendar that Councilman Lewandowski won't be here the 23rd. I don't think that that's gonna slow down your mural dream there.
Yeah, I don't see it on the calendar, but
You haven't, everybody hasn't responded.
came
She
out
just
in
asked
today.
you
Oh, I
if
see.
you were available today.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to be, actually, if it's in the evening, I can make it. I have training for the school district in Palaca during the day, but I can be here for an evening
So
week.
6 p.m. the 23rd, 2
I
weeks
can
from
do
today.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Right. Anything
Okay.
else?
It seems like there was something else, but, oh, the 19th is still Orange Park for the Florida League of Cities?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's it.
Steve?
I really don't have anything, just looking forward to the 4th of July.
Yeah.
I don't have something after that.
Dave?
Nothing to add, thank you.
No? So I have a couple of things. On that thing with the mural, very excited about that. And I hope that we'll have the CRA workshop, but I'd like to have a special council meeting immediately following so we can agree or disagree, but I think we're probably gonna agree on this, to move forward with contract with that artist. I know that they only have one quote that came back, and from what I've seen so far of what's being proposed, I think that everyone would be very happy. But we just need to make sure about the funds and that detail, but as a result of our workshop, because I know we're not having another meeting in July, so I wanna get this rolling.
So this CRA meeting for the 23rd is a meeting, not a workshop, so you can take
It would be
They can
a
vote.
meeting, well, could it be a
Yeah.
workshop? Yeah, I guess it could be.
You can vote.
It would be
We
a
can vote,
meeting.
yeah. If we do it-
And Jamie and Ms. Fleet have things for you to do too, that was
Oh, okay.
what generated it on
Okay,
our
that's
end.
fine, so let's
The
just,
mural
we'll just
will
propose
be
it
added
then.
to the agenda.
Yeah, I wanna get on this, I think this is an outstanding idea, and I'm real excited about it.
Well, you would want, if you want to move forward, you would need to then have a special call city council meeting. Because the CRA makes recommendations to the city council and the city council agrees.
That's what I know, because we're all fine on it though, we're the CRA.
Right, no,
But we
no.
can have it like right behind it, right, a special meeting?
I heard what you said, I just thought there was a little bit of a misunderstanding that even if the CRA is a meeting, yes, you can vote in that CRA meeting, but you're looking to take it a step further.
Advertising as a CRA board meeting for the city council special.
Either way, I want us
You
to
have anything?
be able to make a decision.
I'm listening, trying to just make
Oh,
sure I
okay.
understand too. Oh,
All right, all
Okay.
right. It's tough when you have engineers smarter than you are and you can't just keep up. Were you good, Mayor?
Yeah.
Okay. Chief Rick, would you mind?
Oh,
She's not done though.
oh, yeah, no.
oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were done with the CRA.
Yeah.
The only other thing I wanted to mention is, I recently attended the, Institute for Elected Municipal Officials for the state of Florida. It's sponsored through the Florida League of Cities, Part 1. And, it was great. I wish I could have done it year one, with my role here, but I was unaware of it. So one thing that I have done, is I have created a reference, which I've given to Ms. Wendy here, on all the resources that we have available to us for education to help support us in this role. Because we don't come with any training here. I really don't. You're kind of on your own essentially. And so, beyond the ethics, which is a required element here, and then there's a institution, well, it's a virtual thing that you can do online 1 hour to get kind of oriented on the role. But that's pretty much it. The thing I attended was 2 solid days of every aspect of municipality business, everything from our role as a whole for the community, half a day on finance, half a day on legal. It was a really outstanding experience. And I provided it with everyone. Some of these things are required, just the orientation's required and our ethics is required. Ethics is annual, but the other is not. But I certainly encourage you all to consider any of these educational resources because they just make us do a better job. Anyway, I just want to share that little bit of information. Next, I'm done.
Wendy, did you need anything from us?
You took
Okay.
care of it.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to call up Chief Riggs, just to give you a little report. You guys had asked about slowing the traffic down and getting people to stop in the walkways and things like that.
So we did a couple of different things. So I heard all of y'all and I know that y'all hear from the people of Keystone. So we, in combination of that, we had a few groups of people that were committing some low-level crimes or bringing some crimes into our county and causing some problems here in Keystone Heights. So we put together a special detail for 3 nights for about 8 or 9 hours, and we included our patrol people, our task force, narcotics, investigations, and traffic, and brought them all down together. I'm gonna give you just some rough numbers or some ongoing stuff going, but they made a 225 traffic stops on those 3 nights. They wrote 110 or 15 warnings. They wrote 80 something citations. We made about 15 or 16 arrests on those nights. We wrote 11 criminal citations. So we really want to come down and make a good impact to remind people that we can come down here and enforce if we have to. Our crowd numbers were not going up, but again, combination of what y'all were saying, the complaints that we've been getting, and then we did have a few groups of people that were easing in the wrong direction, in my opinion. So we put some stuff together and worked with the community and went out and did some good enforcement and hopefully made an impact.
We appreciate it.
No problem.
So it was noticed.
It was
It was noticed.
For the people, that was the purpose. So.
Absolutely. I've heard in person and on social media, and I want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you
There
so
were
much.
a lot of drug arrests. We made a significant amount of drug arrests.
It was noticed. It was
Okay.
noticed. We appreciate it.
Good, I'm glad y'all, what y'all, right.
Thank you.
No problem.
Was the motorcycle accident after?
Yeah, that was Saturday night. I came right up on that. It was horrible. Okay, next, Mr. Bender.
So I actually think I'm good. I think y'all have a pretty good concept of what's going on. There is a lot moving and shaking in Keystone. So we're gonna have 2 more meetings in this room, the next 2 Monday nights, of planning and zoning, and then a CRA meeting followed by a city council special meeting for the CRA board to make whatever recommendation it would like to make to the city council, understanding you are all the same group of folks. And your airport authority meets tomorrow at 4, 2 hours earlier than their normal time. They've got a pretty packed agenda. I forwarded you some email traffic from various attorneys, the FAA, etc. So please read your email. You have multiple documents just to be aware of. You have very talented, qualified airport authority that you guys have appointed, and they're doing good work there for you and have a lot of it to do tomorrow.
We have members of the board here. Would you mind introducing them to us, please?
No, not at all. If you would, David Kirkland, our chair for the past several years, and now our secretary, who's agreed to take their own minutes, General Retired Jim Eifert, our new airport authority chair, and David DeJonas, who is our new vice chair, are all here. And sir, did you need to say anything besides what I just said? Good? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate what y'all do. Mr. Commander.
If you haven't done so already, you're running out of time to file your financial disclosure form. That's due the end of this month. So if you don't file it in time,
That's the
Form 1.
Form 1.
The
Yeah,
Form 1.
I did it like 2
There's
weeks
a
ago.
period of time that's a grace period, and then they start fining you by the day. So
Right.
hopefully you won't find yourself in that situation. That's all I have.
Y'all know, yeah, you went and do it for the election, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Anything
I
else?
think I passed for this.
Yeah, I don't think the 2 new councils have to do it. I did mine last week.